Greetings. My name is Carl Hobert. I direct the Global Literacy Institute at Boston University, and my email address is hobertc@bu.edu. Please feel free to contact me at any time. I'm here today to talk about what I call the intellectual outward-bound case study approach to conflict resolution. It allows students in middle schools and high schools around the world to look at a variety of geopolitical conflicts and to role play different sides in those conflicts. Today, the focus will be on the Who's Jerusalem geopolitical case study, focusing on the Arab-Israeli conflict. The first thing that teachers are going to want to think about is being able to have what I call icebreaker or team building exercises to get the students ready for the conflict resolution exercise. One important thing first to teach the students: the word listen, spelled another way, is silent. Teaching students to listen more carefully when they're involved in discussions and when they're involved in conflict resolution simulation exercises is very, very important. So not only is listen spelled another way silent, spelled a third way is enlist. By teaching students to remain silent and listening more, you're able to enlist students into more mature ways of looking at conflicts, again, from many different sides. One of the greatest ways to start off a simulation exercise is to have all students stand up and from one wall in the classroom to the other wall in the classroom, have them line up by first name. If, for example, one student has as a first name Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, he can go toward one wall facing the wall. For a student whose name is Zoe, for example, she would go to the other wall facing the same way that Aaron is. And then all the students would have to line up in perfect alphabetical order. And you remind them, listen spelled another way is silent. So that as the students are lining up, they have to do so in complete silence. One of the things that's interesting, students who are lining up will most often look at one another and show the letter with hands, not, for example, showing that an A is written like that. They'll make some sort of a gesture so that the other student will understand more effectively with the body language. I've also noticed that students whose first names begin with C, for example, will not go like this, which is C to themselves. They'll go like this, which is C to the other student. And to see how quickly they line up in perfect alphabetical order is extraordinary. You can then move from talking to the students and saying, okay, we've got A to Z, to, in my case, asking them exactly what their names are. This is a way that I, as a teacher, not knowing them, am able to learn very quickly and effectively their names. The other thing I've noticed is if two students have the same name, they'll either stand side by side or they'll look at the second name or the family name and make certain that that is in alphabetical order. For example, a student will stand in the front whose last name begins with D. Another student will stand behind him or her with the family name starting with a letter after D. Another wonderful exercise to do, completely silently, is birthdays. Tell students not to bring up the year they were born, but rather the month and the day. And you can say, if you are born on January 1st, you'll go to that wall. If you're born on December 31st, you'll go to that wall. And you want perfect order in terms of the birthdays from one wall to the next. You then say, please do this silently. And as the students are going through this exercise, it's very interesting to see how they indicate their birthdays. You might think about the fact that January 1st is 1 and 1. Or you might think about the fact that January 11th is 1, 10, 1. But some students will say January 1st is actually 1, 1, 1, putting up 2 fingers for the 11. So this is a way to see what students are doing in terms of body language. And once they line up perfectly in terms of dates of birthdays, you then point out to them, after going through the whole group of students, finding out when their birthdays are, identifying that your birthday is very close to one of their birthdays. Mention that in the United States, your birthday is first the month you were born, and then the day you were born. For example, for me, it is 4/2/6 or April 26th. But then I point out that in other cultures, for example in Western Europe, it is actually 2/6/4 or the 26th of April. So you're starting to get students to think differently about different cultures and how things are depicted, in this case, like birthdays. Moving on from there, you tell students, again, listen, spelled another way is silent. Spelled a third way is enlist. You're enlisting them to think differently about communication, to think about remaining silent while listening, then moving to being able to speak. Saying to students, now in small groups, go around the room and divide yourselves into groups of favorite ice cream flavor. You'll see students running around the room, jumping up and down, going, chocolate is here, vanilla is here, strawberry is here. Being able to have students quickly and effectively communicate and get into small groups is important, because no longer are you doing something silently. You're doing something fun that's spoken, and you're showing students that they have similarities they might not have known about. And after we finish the exercise, where I go around and ask each group what their favorite ice cream flavors are, I point out that mine is actually a Ben & Jerry's flavor called Fish Food that I began to love years ago because I went to college in Vermont and used to go to the original gas station where Ben & Jerry were inventing their flavors. This gets you on the level with the students that shows that you've got your own likes, in this case, ice cream flavors, just like they do. Other very good exercises that are fun, you can ask all the students to get together in small groups by favorite television show. Mine is Modern Family. Favorite movie. Mine is Rocky 1. Favorite actor. Favorite actress. Favorite cereal. Favorite food. All of these are great exercises that are fun and show students that they have similarities they might not have known about. And then you move from those specific things like cereal, like different types of foods, to something more complicated, like favorite music. What is your favorite band? What is your favorite singer? These are ways to be able to get students to think, wow, that's a very difficult question to answer, because it's much more complex than I would have thought. You'll still see students identifying groups, one often becoming, we can't decide. And what you teach students is, you're being open, you're being honest. It's very difficult in this case to decide. Then, moving from that exercise, where I say, I am a fanatic for the band U2, you move to the final exercise before starting your conflict resolution simulation. In the case of the Arab-Israeli conflict, I ask, prior to coming in here, did you feel that you were pro-Palestinian, pro-Israeli, or that you did not know enough? Most students will get into that middle group. They don't know enough. And that's part of the reason why you want to have a simulation exercise where the students learn how to argue from many different sides in a conflict. And this is where we end the icebreaker and team building exercises at the very beginning of a workshop, where students are not only thinking about similarities and differences, but they're starting to get the adrenaline flowing in terms of participating in a positive way in the upcoming simulation exercise.